Hearthstone. Like, he hasn't had that big tournament win, but I believe he's tied for for tour stop top 16s with Hunter Ace, who is obviously the real star player of the year so far. So all he really needs, I think, to bolster his reputation amongst the less hardcore Hearthstone fans is to get a tour stop victory. So this is really of the utmost importance for him.
Yeah, and here we see we both opening up with Druid, but there's different Druid lists. Jarla is bringing the Malygos Druid, and Casie is running with the token that we all see on ladder a lot, and the new one with the all the taunt stuff, the scavengers and the Saturday Night Chain gangs. And
I wonder when it's going to cross over to the point where we can't call it new token druid anymore, because it's just pretty much the token druid now, right? You basically never see the Violet Teacher version, but I guess the distinction does need to be made.
It's an important distinction to make as well, because the Violet Teacher route is more like Miracle-ish with lots of spells.
That's fair. Yeah.
And then you have the new one, which is basically build a good board and then buff it up.
And we were talking a little bit before we went live about the queue order that Casie goes for here, with what deck he starts off with. And running down the decks from Jarla, it kind of felt to us like he doesn't really have any good counters to the token druid of Casie. So I actually really like it from Casie, just getting it down at the start, maybe setting up for a very strong 3-0 sweep with his token druid.
Yeah, and this is the danger of LHS as well, because you build your lineup around being able to counter almost everything, countering into counter, and then a lot of the matches go to 2-2 and then 3-2.
Yeah.
But seeing here with the token druid, and it could just sweep the whole lineup of Jarla, and it is always a danger. But it depends a lot on the Mala druid's draws here.
It does indeed, and Jarla has got the kind of hand that I find tends to beat token druid. Twig is just so powerful in this matchup because, again, there's no weapon destruction ever in druid. So if you can get Malygos with a swipe and perhaps even a floop in your hand, you should be able to get off to a pretty good way of clearing off the board, or maybe delivering lethal. But you have to survive 5 turns to do that, which Casie is not giving any time of day for Jarla to do.
You saw him just ripping the Whispering Woods at, early, just basically saying, like, if you don't have swipe, I'm going to punch you hard in the face next round. And he has the Savage Roar follow-up, and this means that if Jarla doesn't manage to clear, like, basically all of it, he's dead.
So what are the options this turn? I'm obviously, especially with the pickup of Ultimate Infestation, liking an awful lot of ramp on this turn. So I'm looking primarily at Nourish into Wild Growth. That does, however, mean you can't play the Spellstone, which you would kind of like to do on one of these 1/1s, unless you take what we can see is going to be lethal damage next turn.
It's 15 damage represented, and you're at 20. Any form of buff. That means Power of the Wild, a Savage Roar, anything, just punches him to the face.
Power of the Wild is not in the deck. Okay. That is an important distinction.
So it's one less buff to worry about, but it's still one more Branching Paths and 2 Savage Roars in the deck. He's not far into the deck, so it might just go like, well, maybe I just have to risk it.
Yeah, he very possibly will. And we can see, I don't believe there's any way out for him at all on this turn. I think this is going to be probably the fastest game we've had on stream by a very wide margin, as Casie does what Casie tends to do in Hearthstone, in that he will probably just be winning here.
Yeah, because you see, he removes two more of these Wisps. There's still 9 damage represented, and then you have the Savage Roar, which adds 2 per minion plus 2 on the hero,
which is another 8. So that's just easy lethal on this turn available for Casie.
Casie he did the sequenced edition, and he knew that this was lethal. He was ready for it. And this is what Casie does. He basically knew, unless there's a swipe present, this is the winning play. And that's exactly what happened. It wasn't a swipe, and he can win. If not, he had the backup. He had some ramp.
Against a control wall, or sorry, an even warlock, you can say, do you have Defile? If not, you lose. Against maybe a control priest, do you have Duskbreaker or Wild Pyromancer or Psychic Scream? They do have quite a lot of cards they could have to clear a board in a priest deck, but they still need to find them.
Yeah, and this is what I find very interesting in these more aggressive decks. A lot of them, like when you face Odd Warrior with an aggressive deck, sometimes you just have to say, well, this is a bad matchup for me. I'm just going to play everything I have, and this is like your turn.
Yeah.
Do your thing. Either I win or you or I lose, no matter what. And it's these kind of things and taking these risks that basically you find in the pro players. They know when to take these risks and have the more higher percentage chances of winning. And you see it here, Casie is up 1-0, and Jarla has a Q in with his priest that we're unsure who is favored here because it's like no one plays this priest on ladder.
Yeah.
There's not much stats on it.
It's a weird one because the main reason why priest isn't really played on ladder is because of druid, I find, because of how much druid there is and also how much quest rogue there is. That's obviously a pretty horrible matchup. But generally, against the Togwaggle druids, the Malagos druids, you're never going to win because you can't stick a board generally that's big enough to defeat them. They gain way too much armor with Malfurion and branching paths. Against the token druid, though, I feel like maybe you have a little bit more game because they rely on making big boards, which Control Priest is pretty good at dealing with.
Yeah, especially also this. He has all the tools in his hand, as you see as well. He has
That's
the Wild
true.
Pyromancer, he has a Duskbreaker, now he has a Primordial Drake. He has like the full 2, 4, and 8 now. As well as there's a Scream here, and Scream is one of the worst cards for druid because you shuffle in a bunch of wisps into your deck and just dilutes the whole pool and makes it horrible for the druid every draw you take. So.
Very interesting sequencing here from Jarla, where I was questioning as to whether he would keep Northshire Cleric off the mulligan, because in terms of small minions that druids are going to play that you can bump into and then heal up to draw cards, it's basically non-existent. They don't really have any early minions that they're playing down outside of Saronite Chain Gang, I suppose they might throw down, or a Whispering Woods, maybe. But it seems like here he's holding it back, not playing it on turn 1, but still keeping it. I guess because he wants to draw with Wild Pyromancer with it on a later turn for one big swing in terms of card advantage.
Yeah, and you see also Casie here having not the greatest of hands.
Yeah.
So it's basically giving Jarla all the time he needs to build up. He plumps down a Twilight Drake just to basically say, well, I have something on board, and Casie doing the same thing here now. Just saying to Jarla, do you have it? If not, or as we see, he doesn't have the buffs, but he has the Soul of the Forest. Instead of,
He makes it look so easy, doesn't he? Just plays it, just right off the top. Even though if it's killed off, he could end up losing the game right here.
Yeah, I love it. It's like he's stone-faced through the whole game. So
Unblinking.
Unblinking. You're just knowing exactly what you go for. But as you said also here with Casie, he knows that, well, with this hand, I need to take more risks.
Yeah.
Like, I know that Wild Pyromancer with the spell wrecks me. I know what the Duskbreaker wrecks me, but I don't have ramp. I don't have anything that I actually need. If he had better cards, of course, he would have done a different play. He would probably save that for turn 8, where he can do the Soul of the Forest as well.
Well, this is the difference between what you can see very obviously with the last game. Anyone could have won that game that Casie went for last time. Like, as long as you have the metal to play out your Whispering Woods when it could just die, that was a very easy game for Casie. Let's not beat you around the bush. This one is a miserable hand at the moment. If this dies, then it should be very easy for Jarla to clean up afterwards. So this is the mark of a good token druid player. Can you win with a bad hand?
There we see Casie here is not sitting. He picks up the Spreading Plague, which is key here because it can give him a bunch of minions and then also playing out that Arcane Tyrant and the Flute, giving him like 4 decent minions and setting up for more buffs coming in the next turn. And it's basically how you use Flute in this matchup. You can use it for Giglings, you can use it for Saronites, you can use it for Scavengers, but a lot of times you just use it for free 3-4 on the board after you play like Spreading Plague or Nourish. And because that's how you win. You basically, build a big board, punch them with Savage Roar. Yeah.
It's about building a big board, but I find more than that, it's about finding the perfect window of when to make that big board. Because if this was a couple turns later, I think we very possibly would have seen Casie holding back the Floop there maybe, because he's going into a Psychic Scream turn. But here from Jarla, there is no threat of clearing off this board realistically. I think it would have to be a pretty crazy combination of Pyromancer spells to have any chance here.
Double powered shield and some heals and everything.
Whatever,
like that,
so for Casie, I think he has free reign here to develop. Next turn, go for Soul of the Forest and just pray that he finds some kind of buff card. Savage Roar, Branching Paths, anything to push a little bit of damage.
Meanwhile, Jarla, on the other hand, is just, building up his own board because as we saw in the last matchup as well, where 6-0, he's basically having a lot of minions on board. You can just deal with all the minions of the Druid instead of using your spells doing it. It's always a good thing to do. Maybe it's also see him playing the Giggling instead of going for the Soul of the Forest, because Giggling is 3 more minions that can be buffed with the Soul of the Forest, and it's coming down 1 turn before Psychic Stream as well, so it's pretty safe.
Yeah, I feel like it's somewhat close, because if you go for Giggling this turn, are you setting up for Soul of the Forest next turn, which is playing into a Psychic Scream turn, and you really don't want to put Death Rattles on going into a Psychic Scream
He's
turn.
just wasting a card.
Yeah, so I guess he's just planning on holding back the Soul of the Forest for the moment, or maybe saying, you know what, if you have Psychic Scream, you're winning anyway, so just go for it, mate, you're welcome.
It is also saying this, like, this is 6 minions. Any form of buff is representing so much damage.
Good point.
And he makes, maybe saying to Jarla, it's like, well, I probably have a buff in my hand. I have 3 cards I haven't played. Not because they're Ultimate Invitation, but it could be something else.
That's true.
You have to use a lot of resources now to remove this board or you're done.
And now Jarla seemingly executing the play he set up right from the start by keeping the Northshire Cleric off the mulligan. He can now go for Cleric, Pyromancer, Power Word Shield with a Divine Hymn as well. That should be able to clear off, what, 4 of these 6 minions, I think, from his opponent if he gets in some trades as well. Maybe more, actually.
Trades off most of
no,
them.
yeah.
Which is, basically reducing the threat level to nothing and then refilling his hand with 4 more cards.
Absolutely disgustingly powerful turn. Getting himself the Dustbreaker, getting himself the arguably less impactful Archbishop Benedictus. But it does mean that Casie just can't win in Fatigue. No matter how many minions are shuffled in through Psychic Scream, that's not a win condition.
And picking up that Saronite, though, makes it able to have a 4-minion Soul of the Forest, which is as good as you can. Yeah, it's fine. It's as good as you can get when you have a low hand size and everything.
As long as you're killing off the Wild Pyromancer, this turn is, I think it's as good as you're going to get, considering how miserable the last turn was for you.
Yeah, and seeing Jarla, though, this priest, though, even though we said that it's a bit iffy who is favored, but if you see like Mass Dispel, Psychic Scream, Duskbreakers, Primordial Dregs, this seems like this is his token druid counter.
It's definitely starting to look that way, because I think what I was letting myself be fooled into is the fact that against the more old school druids like Malagos and Togwaggle Druid, or I should say the less board-focused ones, you can't get the win condition there through Mind Blast. It just doesn't really happen very often because they have so much armor. Whereas in this deck, you're so easily able to stick a board after you've dealt with it that even though they still have the same armor gain through Branching Paths and Malfurion, you can just get in so much chip damage over the course of the game. They don't run Naturalize. They want to use their Branching Paths for damage, not armor gain. So I think after this is dealt with for Jarla, he should be in a pretty decent spot to start moving in towards his own win condition, because he's got Alexstrasza and he's got Anduin.
Yeah, and he also got like tons of board pressure. He has a better board than Casie is sitting on. And seeing this Mass Dispel going out as well basically says, well, that was your Soul of the Forest basically rendered moot. You don't have any value from it. You don't have a board following up. So even if you have a buff, it's buffing 1 minion.
And this perfectly illustrates what Jarla's game plan is, because we see him here healing to burn a card, I think, off of the Cleric, but saying that doesn't matter. I just want to keep board control no matter what.
That swipe, though.
Yeah, that was pretty big.
It's pretty big. It makes Casie able to reset the board again, and he has his next turn is pretty much set whatever he draws. So, you know, a lot of people are wondering what's probably the best card in the game, and we will probably see that next turn. It's one of the few cards that makes Druid what it is today. Yeah. Basically, one of the big downsides of playing Druid is that you use a lot of your cards in your hand to ramp up. Yeah. But when you can refill everything, it's not that bad.
I remember back in the day with the old school, what was it, One Night in Karazhan era Malagos Druid, where you had to play your double Gadgets and Auctioneer just to draw back through your deck.
Yeah, with Raven Idols, and hopefully you get some Innovates. And
God, I love that deck.
Yeah. And Druid's always been about that. They need a card draw engine, basically, because of how they're built up. Like, Nourish wasn't played for a long time because it was just...
Well, you had Drake.
Yeah,
you just had Hush Drake.
And you had the Ancient of Lore before it got nerfed and stuff like that, but it was basically not good enough, because if you ramp with it, you just down 1 card up 2 mana and you couldn't refill. But nowadays, it's staple because of Ultimate Invitation.
So clearly an incredibly difficult turn here for Jarla, as the obvious dichotomy there, the choice that he had to make was, do I play Anduin this turn, or do I keep up board presence? If he goes for Anduin and then he starts to lose board control to an Ultimate Infestation that he pretty much knows is there. Like, considering how bad Casey's turns have been, just playing off the top every time, Ultimate Infestation, I think, is something that Jarla can assume is there.
Yeah, seeing also that it was a swipe hero power turn 9, or a mana, 9 mana. And
you got a good guess.
Yeah.
And so in that case, do you want to play Shadow Reaper Anduin next turn when there's a 5/5 on the board? Do you want to play a minion this turn so you can go Alexstrasza next turn and punish them for only having 1 minion on the board so they probably can't kill it off? Very difficult sequence of events for Jarla.
And this is also a lot of the times when you're in the leading seat, like Jarla, is because of his early clears and everything, he was basically in a leading position to take this game. And a lot of the time when you're in that position, you're not thinking about what's necessarily the best play. It's how do I lose in this situation? And like thinking about all the strategies. What happens if he plays UI? What happens if he plays this card? What happens if he plays this card? And so he just hedging all his bets and ended up with Drake and got rewarded with saving the Shadow Reaper Anduin to just kill off the UI minion.
Yeah, it was a weird couple turns because he wasted like 5 mana effectively because the hero power to face doesn't really make any difference, to be honest. He's such a good health total anyway. But he's ended up in such a good board state where he doesn't have to develop a Twilight Drake into a 5/5. That battle cry value off of Anduin was so big here, and it means that unless he falls massively behind on board here, he can just start following up with Alexstrasza and start killing his opponent.
Yeah, seeing Casie now, though, he got this Malfurion, which is also key to actually winning so you don't get outraced by the priest. Basically just armoring up. And it's the Token Druid has much less armor gain than the Malagos or the Togwoggle because of lacking Ferocious Howls or Oaken Summons. It's basically, it's the hero power from Druid, and it's Branching Paths.
Which you really don't want to use. You do not want to armor up with Branching Paths if you can avoid it.
Branching Paths is such a versatile card as well. It's like in... like all the other druids, Malagos and stuff, you do armor, card draw, or basically attack up. But in token druids, every time you draw or armor up with Branching Paths, you're very sad. Yeah, you're very sad. Yeah. It's always going to be the second Savage Roar, the permanent Savage Roar, basically.
And so I think Jarla, after seeing the Malfurion come down now, is going to come to the very quick realization that this win for him comes through board control. It doesn't come through sending everything he can through to face, which is why we're seeing here, which I really like, just the Drake. Yeah. It doesn't clear up a wide board of something like Soul of the Forest, but he has another one holding back. He has a Psychic Scream. I think he's just got to start getting these big minions on board so he can go for a surprise Alexstrasza seemingly out of nowhere, smash his opponent in the face down to a point where he's just dead to double Mind Blast.
It's also a pretty safe card to play because it's a 4/8 and it requires a lot of punching through from the Druid.
Yeah.
It's not it's not just there. It's a big minion. And here Jarla pulls up the Wild Pyromancer, and this means he has possibilities to clear with if he uses his Mind Blasts and everything and clearing off most of this board. But is that what he wants?
It's an interesting draw because there's a lot of options now. He doesn't want to go for Psychic Scream on a board where he's got some very valuable minions of his own. So that then maybe we see double ping with a Duskbreaker clears off a fair bit of this. He can sacrifice off his own Drake in the meanwhile.
Yeah.
That doesn't get any damage through to face, I don't think, and he would have to trade with the Drake, so it's not perfect.
Speaks to
we could see another another Primordial Drake straight up, but
yeah, it's kills of your Twilight Drake.
Yeah, it doesn't. The numbers don't quite add up. It's a tough turn, surprisingly, because
he has so many options to like really attack this board, but he has to choose basically the highest percentage win rate. Way of doing it.
Yeah, this definitely looks like he's setting up for a Duskbreaker to me, which, you know, is the minion that, the board clear effect which best tackles this board. It's obviously getting rid of the vast majority of minions. You get a little bit of chip damage to face, and you are ahead on board, whilst not being too vulnerable to Plague, which is a fairly big distinction.
Yeah, the Plague comes out anyways, because,
what else is there?
It's just card draw and buffs, basically, so...
Yeah.
And Casie needs to get stuff out of his hand as well, because this next Ultimate Infestation is probably coming down soon as well.
I would definitely expect that. He's still got... he got a Tyrant left in his deck?
One Tyrant
One Tyrant, yeah.
And a bunch of buffs. So. And he has one more...
well, has he got 2? Did he play one right at the start?
He played one and one Floop.
Oh, yeah, right you are.
But he also has the Whispering Woods and the Soul of the Forest and stuff like that. But he hasn't seen any Scream. He's seen one burn, though.
He has seen one burn.
Which is really important for him, because that makes him more safe, basically. But he knows also that Jarla has, like, so many cards that there's a high probability that there is a Scream in his hand.
And even then, the Scream is only really necessary for the Priest, I think, against Plague, where Pyromancer doesn't do the job in its own right. If we were to see a board which was Whispering Woods, Soul of the Forest, Jarla could still very handily clear up that board.
With Wild Pyromancer and the Shadow Essence, and he has lots of spells to clear
all that good stuff.
The shadows grow short.
But Jarla is using his time here. Casie is playing super fast, and then he's known for playing super fast.
That is just Casie, yep.
And Jarla is just having to really think about each of his turns, because there's so much different things he has to consider.
Well, Jarla always plays very slowly. That's just kind of a signature of his style of play, like you said, as opposed to Casey's incredibly rapid style of play. I would say to his detriment, but to be honest, Casey's so like clever and just gets Hearthstone so much that he's allowed to play quickly because he just sees the best plays.
Yeah. Now you see Casie here with a full hand, and he doesn't care if he burns any cards.
It's not that bad in Token Druid.
No, and he got all his buffs now. Double Branching Pad, double Savage Roar. If he had a Twig to just punch everything.
Maybe that's the new tech, Twig Token Druid.
Twig Token Druid.
Genius.
Good in versus not the mirror.
It's good versus nothing, because you make a big board, break your Twig, and you can't attack with anything. Yeah. But now for Jarla, still just needing to find some way of dealing with this board of stuff from his opponent. Because if he doesn't, even with just these minions on board,
that's represents a lot
would
of
that just
damage.
lethal? I don't know if it would necessarily be lethal, but it's very bloomin' scary.
A double Savage Roar and the Branching Pads is a lot of damage.
Yeah, I guess you always trade this one.
But still, yeah. We're seeing here, Jarla is trying to find out also how to best clear off as much as possible, because what he wants is an emptiest board as possible, because he knows there's 2 Savage Roar, 2 Branching Pads, and those cards are, makes any minion quite threatening.
He's also trying to, bit of unfortunate sequencing for Casie, but Jarla really here is just trying to find any play that is not Psychic Scream, because he really does not want to use that one Psychic Scream. It's so valuable.
And Casie is now actually taking his time. He's thinking, because the Saronite Scavenger is a quite strong play right here, because you get one of the buffs with basically charge, and the rest is buffing up to 4 or 5 Saronites, which is always good. But the thing is, like, he's unsure if that's the way to go to actually do it, and he rather goes with the Soul of the Forest, which is punished by Psychic Scream, but it's also more or better if you have like more AoE effects.
That's true. I'm kind of wondering what AoE effects Casie was expecting there, because he's now seen both Duskbreakers. He's seen one Wild Pyromancer. He's seen one Primordial Drake. Primordial Drake wouldn't even clear off most of these minions here.
It's also more
I wouldn't have
sticky.
hated Strong Shell.
Yeah, it's a stickier board now.
Yeah. I guess this does just set up for, even if the, so even if the Alexstrasza attacks in, even if the hero powers attack in here, you still have 2/2s on board, so you can go double Savage Roar, Branching Paths, lethal.
Yeah. And that's what he's thinking, but and Jarla isn't going for the Psychic Stream. He's going for like clearing as much as possible with this Pyromancer.
He can clear off a lot. This is a very respectable board clear, especially after the Alexstrasza attacks in. It's only going to be 1 minion left on board after 3 spells are played in the 2/2 Ghoul.
Yeah, and that's not enough to buff.
Yeah, that's fine.
The shadows grow short.
Also with the Divine Hymn, it also makes his Alexstrasza healthy, so he just can't get trade off. And it's a pretty good thing here, and as you said, saving off that Psychic Scream for as long as possible.
Very good spot as well by Jarla, in that the previous turn he had the ability to go for an extra ping with the with the Powered Shield, because he had 3 mana left over. But he deliberately saved it back for this exact play. He knew how valuable it would be when saved with the Wild Pyromancer, and he's clearly been rewarded for that.
Yeah, and Casie here now playing the Scavenger just as a 2/3, just basically saying, well, it's a 2/3 and a 2/2.
Tempo Strong Shell.
Yeah, but it's
the
still,
most underrated
still a lot of damage. The Savage Roar is a
yeah.
fireball basically now, and you have 2 of them. That's 12 damage. just from the fireballs and then
Yep.
branching pads. But seeing as
Yeah.
Jarla just
There we
has
go.
this mind blast and everything, he was almost through this deck, and Casie was just thinking, well, this has to be it. It was his only out, actually just putting the last few minutes he had on this board. And
Look into this game. Oh, it is going to be Odd Warrior up against Benedictus Control Priest with Anduin and Benedictus in the starting hand. Oh my
is he
good
keeping
giddy aunt.
both of those?
Of course he is.
So, ladies and gentlemen, strap on, get something to drink, get something to eat, because we can be here for a wild ride.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a long game, and, well, you know, to Jarla's credit, this is why you put Archbishop Benedictus in your deck. There's not really any other matchup where the fatigue is necessary, but he throws it away. I find that very surprising. You know, full credit. I have not played Archbishop Benedictus Control Priest because I'm not a complete and utter madman. But I guess he's thinking that he'll draw it eventually. If it does go to fatigue, he'll find it at some point.
Yeah.
And immediately he needs to find better cards for the matchup, and he doesn't want to be drawing rubbish Odd Warrior cards. Like, I guess he doesn't want to put as many cards as possible in his deck. He wants to put just enough in his deck to
win the fatigue, yeah.
game. Exactly, because the deck, the cards in his deck are made, they're put in for a reason. They're good with his deck. Odd Warrior cards, a lot of them wouldn't be. Even then, this does run the risk of Benedictus being the bottom card of the deck, or somewhere near there.
But still, is that so bad? Jarla is also maybe thinking that he needed like the Twilight Drake, something like
Yeah.
that, because if the Warrior armor total gets too high, he never gets in through with the Anduin, and if he goes to the turn limit, it's the armor that matters. And
Yeah.
and he probably played this matchup much more than we have.
Oh, no, I have no doubt about that. I trust that Jarla's plays are correct, make
Yeah.
no mistake. And I suppose if you extend the thinking a little bit further, the idea is that Control Priest draws so much better than Odd Warrior does. So you draw through your whole deck so quickly that even if it is the bottom card in your deck, they still have, like, what, 10 cards left, maybe more?
Maybe more, yeah.
If you can get a good cleric draw going. So he's thinking, at some point I'll be able to play this and still get a good shuffle after I've already found the good cards from my deck.
And you see here, though, the keep from both players, though, it was Anduin for Jarla, and it was Dr. Boom for Casie. The hero cards, basically.
Very easy, yeah. It's in any of these kind of slowish control matchups, you want to find your Death Knights or your hero cards as quick as you possibly can.
And this is also the fun part about it. It's like, if you go back a couple of years before hero cards were out, if someone tells you, you will keep an 8-mana card in your opening hand in a matchup, people will call you a madman. But here we see it almost every day, because the card in itself is so strong. The whole deck is built,
Yeah.
the whole foundation of the deck is built around it, and it's so important. You see Big Mage, for instance, when they don't draw Jaina, it's a horrible deck.
It's exactly the
But
same. yeah.
when they draw it, it's really good. And that's what we're seeing here as well. Jarla, on the other hand, just didn't want to play anything into this MC tech.
Yeah, that was a really interesting turn 4 pass, because there's obvious punishes for every play he makes. If he goes Twilight Drake, he gets Shield Slammed or Ironbeak Howled, and he's pretty sad. If he goes for Dustbreaker, he could get Coin Dynamatic, I guess is the worst that could happen, or at the very least, it just doesn't do anything. This is already, like, I can totally understand the reasoning for Jarla's plays, and I do defer to him in matters of Benedictus Control Priest wholehandedly. This is already a game that I would have played very differently.
Yeah, you would have
Probably to my detriment.
Yeah, putting the Twilight Drake out early,
Probably, yeah.
just to try
Or
to chip down that armor.
At least the Duskbreaker, just to clear off the board, set up for when you do want to play your Twilight Drake. Because if he is afraid of Shield Slam, the thinking is obviously you wait for your Skulking Geist, which is in the deck for Jarla, so that it will stick. But at that point, because you're not playing anything, you've probably fallen so far behind on board that I wonder if it's worth the slow plays in the first place.
Maybe what he's thinking, though, is due to Warrior not actually amounting to a really aggressive deck, it's just so few minions that are actually dangerous. And most of it, if it becomes too dangerous, you have Scream, you have Duskbreaker, you have something to clear it with. It's like, well, I can afford to wait. I have my heal, and the Warrior has no burst. So just, this is a waiting game. And it goes to our... Yeah, greatest joy. He goes to goes to the rope every turn and just waiting it out.
And this could somewhat be an extension of something I always talk about with Control Priest that I find absolutely fascinating with how players play around it, is how many of your threats you play before your Psychic Scream and how many you play after. Because obviously, if you want to get in chip damage with minions against Warrior, you probably want to let them build up a board, then you Psychic Scream, then you play your minions. It makes sense when you put it so simply like that. It obviously gets a bit more complicated. But Jarla thinking, if I can Psychic Scream away the board, then I play my Dustbreaker, then I play my Twilight Drake, get in some chip damage so that my Anduin can maybe just win the game through burst, even ignoring the Archbishop Benedictus nonsense.
Yeah, I'm seeing here though. Casie using his Shield Slam, basically because he knows there's a skulking guy here, so you're just using it on 3-3, even though that's really... Usually people like using a Shield Slam on a 3-3 is really bad, but you kind of have to, because or else it's gone.
Do you know what I've realized as well, is that Jarla has done the nicest thing for me that anyone has ever done in their life. I realized why he threw away Archbishop Benedictus, or at least one of the big reasons, is coin Azalina. We could have seen from Casie, potentially, coin Azalina into copying a Benedictus from Jarla, and then a game that would very likely actually go through to the turn limit. What a guy.
And then, yeah, he's
what a top guy.
Thinking of you.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm sure that's the only reason.
Or be the reason that if the Warrior coins Azalina and gets Archer the Bishop, Jarla would never win, because when the turn timer goes out, he doesn't have armor.
Yeah.
And so 30 health.
This
max.
way, Jarla, there will, I'm assuming, never be an opportunity for Casie to copy Benedictus with Azalina, because as soon as it's found off the top for Jarla, he'll snap it onto the board. Yeah.
Now's the thing for Jarla, though. It's like he likes having his hero power active, the healing, because that means if it's 2 damage on board, or a low amount of damage on board, he can just heal every turn. It doesn't matter. He can just keep on not playing anything.
Yeah.
But he also wants it alive because every card is a 2 ping.
Yeah. You do generally just want to put Shadow Reaper Anduin on board as quick as possible, just so you can get that all-important damage through to face. But I guess the thinking here for Jarla is, while I could play Anduin this turn to maybe get a little bit more damage through to face, I could also completely clear the board, push all this damage through to face, and set up for an Alexstrasza with a big board as well.
Yeah, and how should Casie answer this board? It's like the Pyromancer is like when the Pyromancer was bored, Giggling Inventor just loses so much value.
Yeah.
Even though he spends his Mind Blast, even though he spends his Divine Hymn, it doesn't matter in the end, because the goal here is to just get the armor total down. Now he got the power and shield as well. He can do the same play as last turn basically, and clear off the Giggling Inventor, push 7 armor off of Casie.
Is he comfortable losing the second Mind Blast though? Like losing one is like, okay, I guess fine, but this is, well, I suppose maybe I'm overestimating how good the Mind Blasts are in terms of damage, because what they do is they refresh the hero power. Every card in your deck refreshes the hero power. They're still doing the damage, I suppose, aren't they? It's essentially the same amount that you're getting through.
He needs to get through this armor.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so if he gets through it now, it's the same as if he gets through it later.
Good point.
And Casie knows that, well, now one Mind Blast is gone, and he knows that the burst potential is less, but if you just do it with chip damage, not burst, it's the same.
Master Spell would have been nice. 1 card earlier, I imagine, just to get that chip damage through to face. But here we can see Jarla just letting rip with the Mind Blast, saying it does the same amount of damage anyway later on. I'll use something else to refresh my hero power and completely erode your armor total, going into my Alexstrasza or Shadow Reaper Anduin turn.
This shows also something we talked about a lot, and we're talking about a lot is a lot of players, they get this idea of how you win a game. Like everyone, if you see a control piece, you win the game by doing 16 damage with double Mind Blast and Anduin up. But using these Mind Blasts as resources here to push 7, no, push 8, 7. He pushed 7 damage because he managed to kill the Giggling. Is showing that, well, this is a better play in the long term. It's a much more, it's a play that gives me more in the long term and gives me better chip damage. And a lot of players just get hanged up in the, whoa, there's the Archbishop.
I gotta stop you right there, because this is that turn I was talking about. Jarla, drawing it off the top, realizes this is numero uno priority. You throw that down, shuffle all these cards into the deck, and my dreams and hopes of having a bottom card Benedictus game where it wouldn't go on for a billion hours have not been heard.
But you see then now, Jarla has this big deck, but lots of the cards are pretty useless now.
Yeah, that's true. So he... Well, if the cards are useless, the downside of that is what? He can't clear a board because he might draw something like Reckless Flurry. Well, which we can see actually wouldn't happen because they're both in hand. But if he does get a useless card, the downside is he might not be able to clear the board, which is somewhat scary. If the Odd Warrior does manage to seize board control with cards like Bulldozer, which Casie just picked up, maybe Jarla starts to struggle to the point where he just can't pull back board control.
Yeah, and still these useless cards, though, they can be activated for just a ping, basically, as well. So they're not completely useless, even though, yeah, Jarla doesn't have any armor, so he can't use them. And
if for nothing more than comedic effect, we could get a quick look at the deck sizes at the moment for both of these players, just to see quite how far Jarla has put himself ahead in terms of fatigue. That's going to be a 17 for the Odd Warrior, respectable, up against 32. For Jarla. Okay, so I think we can both agree, pretty much no matter how many cards are drawn, fatigue is Jarla's game. That's one. If it gets to fatigue and Casie doesn't have a big board, it's over.
Yeah, Jarla can even draw like 10 cards without them having an issue with a small deck, basically. He's the big deck player now.
The big difference, though, is that while fatigue, as we keep pointing out, is undeniably on Jarla's side, value maybe not necessarily quite so much, as Casie does have Dr. Boom active, while Jarla only has Shadow Reaper Anduin, and unless he can get a lot of repetitive hero powers, like 2, maybe 3 a turn, Dr. Boom will just be outvaluing him.
Whew. Bulldozer. That's a really cool card art and name as well. It looks like a bull and it's a dozer.
It is the best art, yeah, the best art of the set, undeniably.
It's been really good with flavor in Boomsday, actually. Lots of good flavor on the card.
Agreed.
One of my favorite cards is Super Collider, just the animations and everything on it. It's just so, yeah.
It is cool. Literally just a big hammer.
Yeah, a big hammer that makes you hammer your neighbor. You see here, though, now Jarla is also thinking now, like, should I start getting the Anduin train on going? Or Psychic Stream is also a strong play here, but he's really now how to map out what his next, like, 5, 6, 10 turns ahead is going to be.
Yeah. Because
the thing with Shadowy Brandon is he loses a lot of, because he used both Divine Hymns. He has no more draws from his Northshire Clerics.
True. No more draw, no more heal to his face, which could be a concern. Even if it's just Zap Cannon going to face every turn, it starts to get a bit scary.
There's also the fact that even though he managed to Alex Straza Casie's still at 22 health due to the armor from Dr. Boom. And he needs to get through all of this without any Mind Blasts.
Yeah. And, you know, it's been on the table for a while that Anduin has to come down sometime soon. Like, you know, we were discussing the merits of the fact that this is not a strict upgrade in terms of hero power. The heal would be nice to prevent any damage coming through from the warrior, to draw off of cleric. But if you don't do it as soon as possible, you're eventually just going to be outvalued. You're not going to be able to clear off their board consistently enough.
And we see here also from Casie now. Casie has like a Celiax now that he got from Omega Assembly. And having extra Celiaxes is giving him extra heal that Jarla isn't counting in, because when Casie has played Dr. Boom, his hero power is not consistent enough giving him armor, and that's an opportunity for Jarla to start chipping down. And if he doesn't get the blast shield,
good point,
he will just die. But having double Celiax on the other hand gives him this huge amount of lifesteal.
And what that means is that this game probably won't be won through burst for Jarla. It probably won't be won through board, for the moment, at least for Casie, because there's double Psychic Scream there. It's looking like this could be going for a while.
Yeah. Jarla was swinging his big deck around and just trying to just fatigue him out.
I beg your pardon.
But here also, it's like he has to save. He only has 2 Psychic Scream. He will. Well, we're seeing it from Casie has a Brawl in hand, so we have 1 Brawl as well. But as long as Casie doesn't get too many blast shields and too many delivery drones, Jarla can essentially just exhaust all of Casie's minions.
That's the idea. I'm not actually sure that's going to come into actuality, because I just feel like Dr. Boom for Casie and not coming down for Jarla. And double Psychic Scream is there.
Oh, he's killing one of the microbots because he wants him to go to fatigue faster.
Wow.
Even though microbots is a horrible...
It's a really bad draw. Usually you'd throw in cards like Microbot just to make their draws worse. But Jarla here having to use, or I shouldn't say having to, deeming it worth going for a Psychic Scream here just on that measly board, I think indicates how fairly easy it should actually be for Casie to pull pretty far ahead on board.
Yeah, and Casie got the blast shield as well. It's basically putting him further ahead of in the health total, which is also important because he knows he will fatigue faster. But if he fatigues faster and has a big health total, he can actually last or survive that.
And in all likelihood for Casie, it's not going to be the fact that he'll be able to survive so long in fatigue that Jarla starts fatiguing. It will probably be he will last long enough into fatigue to the point where maybe he can push for lethal. Because Casie, make no mistake, has to be playing on the aggressive here.
Yeah, he's the aggro deck now.
Yeah. It's not a great aggro deck, I have to be honest, when you've got, what, 2 Reckless Flurries, a Brawl, and an Asalina in your hand. But it might get the job done, who knows?
It's not the best, but you work with what you have.
Exactly.
Let's see here. Yeah, he's using the Super Collider and just trying to clean up the board, because this is the Jarla's plan now.
Yeah.
Clean up everything, keep a healthy total, and kill him in fatigue.
And who knows, maybe Jarla can get there and just remove every single minion turn after turn.
Many turns left because Casie still has a pretty big board, a pretty big deck. It's with 17 cards earlier, and it's something shuffled in, and it's
like 14 now or something. Yeah.
And I don't know what turn timer we are on, but we're already pretty far in this.
I don't know. I doubt this is going to go to the turn limit. I think you kind of usually underestimate
how long
the turn timer is. It is truly a very, very, very long game of Hearthstone.
But Jarla got a lot of stalling tools there. He got another Psychic Stream, but that also prolongs his effect on the fatigue. But he also has like stuff like Giggling Inventory, has a Primordial Drake and stuff like that, with both the Shield Slams guns as well. Getting through a big taunt is hard for Casie.
This is where you wish instead of Psychic Scream you had the what was it, good old Entomb back in the day. What a card.
That would be played in every control freeze nowadays as well, I guess. Yeah, just giving you more value.
They throw down Sylvanas, boom, I'll have that. Thank you.
Here it goes with the Master Spell, trying to draw something. Oh, the Skulking guys isn't that bad, even though both the Shield Slams are gone. Yeah,
well, it fatigues cards from his own deck as well, doesn't it? Because he knows he's got at least a lot of the same cards that his opponent does. But I do like, well, the silence coming down wasn't necessary for Jarla to deal with the Beryllium Nullifier, because he will very possibly, like, getting rid of the untargetable is undeniably a very good thing to do. But he will also wanting to be stopping any magnetic buffs that come down on it, which could come at, any time due to Delivery Drone or the Omega Assembly as well.
And you see here Jarla is dropping to 16 HP as well, and Casie has
like scary.
and Casie has 6 damage on board with the new hero power. He also has the weapon that he can swing in for 2 more damage if he wants that. Even though Super Collider using Phase is probably the best play, but it's still extra damage.
Did you see Norway in HGG missed a 2-turn setup for lethal by not attacking Phase with Super Collider?
I didn't see that.
It was very, very cool. They were thinking about it as well, and they almost did it, but it probably still would have been wrong if they tried it.
Yeah, you see Celiax on this Beryllium Nullifier as well, just to clear off this big minion and giving Casie even more life gain, basically. Like, Casie has so much health now. It's like up to, what is it, 48?
Yeah, it's not even close.
And now to get Blast Shield as well. He can last for a long time in fatigue.
And I was joking about it when I said that Jarla might just be burst down by the 3 damage from Zap Cannon every time it comes around, but that might actually just happen. I think there's not a... Like, what heal does he have left in the deck? He has a shield block that he gained from his opponent. He doesn't have Dr. Boom, he doesn't have Anduin, he doesn't have Divine Hymns. I don't think he has an Omega Medic that he has in the deck, because that's not often included anymore. Gluttonous Ooze for 1.
There's some Omega Assemblies for Celiax.
That's true. I suppose that's pretty out there. That's like not a lot of healing that he has left, which means he has to kill off every minion as soon as it comes down.
Yeah, and his plan is basically doing that, protecting his face and waiting for fatigue. And while he is waiting for fatigue, Casie is just trying to amass the biggest board he can do without being cleared off and just killing or trying to just punch Jarla in the face. And, and we see it here now. Jarla is using like unconventional resources just to be able to stop. So, yeah, stuff like this. Just and now you can't heal for that much. Now you can't trade that well, and you only punch 2 damage to face.
And if Jarla can win board control, that will definitely turn around the course of this game. And Casie realizes that, going for a 21 damage Reckless Flurry. What is this game of Hearthstone that we are playing?
And he has the blast shield, so he gets up to 7 again. It's like, yeah, well, Jarla is pretty happy. That's like his second Alex Straza, basically, doing 21 damage.
I guess it makes sense. Casie can't fall behind on board, or he loses. He has to be the aggro deck. And if he's an aggro deck, your health total doesn't matter. As soon as it gets to fatigue, he's probably lost anyway. Yeah. We said that maybe the extra couple of turns in fatigue because of his very large armor total might make the difference. But if he loses the board, that will definitely make the difference because he'll just lose.
But we also see Casie having Azalina here as a last-minute resort.
That's true.
He's probably going to save this for as long as he can. Just basically, I've used everything else. Yeah. Now I just pop Azalina to get the last few cards I need. Maybe be able to push the finish line. But
because he knows Jarla's hand also probably isn't very good either. Probably fairly reactive.
There's a lot of bad cards. Oh, Celiacs up.
That is what you are looking for. Very nice.
So he can clear this. No, he can't clear this turn. But yeah, well, he can use the Super Collider to clear it. It's not the best way to clear it. You take 3 and you heal for 3.
Yeah, I don't think I like that.
Just doing it like this because you can't push face due to the taunt. So
yeah,
you just finish him off next turn.
This Direhorn isn't going to be killing you right now, which Jarla obviously realizes. And Casie draws a 5-mana 5/5 with no text. Oh no, wait, sorry, it is Elise. Maybe the pack will make some difference, but pretty much the fact that this is a 5-mana 5/5 is, I think, probably the most important part of this card for Casie.
Yeah, because as we said, he's the aggro deck now.
Yeah.
He just needs to push through.
Oh, okay. If he goes with the Microbot, then he can get the damage through to face. 3 damage for not developing a 5/5. It's not ridiculous, but I think what he's actually realized here is that Jarla's board clear isn't very good. Despite the fact that he's playing a control deck that just shuffled another control deck into his deck, his ability to clear off the board is probably fairly limited, unless he wants to Psychic Scream everything back in, at which point Casie says, not the end of the world, I can play my Elise once again later on.
This is a good turn for Jarla, though.
Yeah,
getting the Primordial Drake in play. It's a hard minion to remove if you don't get the Zap. And
I think this might finally be an Azalina turn now.
Casie disagrees, or he might do Mind Control deck and then
Mind Control take down Azalina, yeah. Everything in his hand just doesn't really get the job done, and we saw what Reckless Flurry did last time. It lost him like 21 health in his own right, so he's just going to go for finding whatever came off of the Stonehill. That's probably a pretty big reason why he does want to go for the Azalina there, just to get himself a nice big taunt.
Yeah, and seeing as well as Azalina is usually, or when you get stuff off of Stonehill, that's usually, like, it's one of 3 taunts, and it's usually you pick always the best one or the best value one or whatever. And so it's usually a pretty good minion.
Yeah.
It's very rarely you get 3 bad choices.
Yeah. And clearly there's Zilliax.
But Jarla got the Omega Assembly, though. And that can make some wonder. If he gets like a couple more Celiaxes, he can probably outlast this damage from Casie.
Does mean he can go ping Pyromancer, ping Omega Assembly to clear off most of this board, and then
still
Twilight Drake for the rest, which I think is what he's leading up for here. It's fine. It puts him in a clears off the board, allows him to go Omega Assembly.
Fills up his hand a little bit.
Yeah, this looks good. This looks very good.
Clearing up, yeah, and just taking down some armor from Casie.
Far from premium mechs, but I suppose Kaboom Boy is just a little bit of removal, which is nice against the onslaught from Casie.
Yeah. And then the more minions Jarla has on board to all times, and the more minion he can use for clearing off Casie's minions, the less chance he has to use Psychic Scream, which just prolongs the game.
Now, for Casie, he's just... It's kind of weirdly shifted from... Well, actually, no, he knows that the Ziliax is in his opponent's hand now. So I was going to say it's gone from Delivery Drone being the best one to Zap Cannon being the best one. But I guess now that the Ziliax is there, it's a little bit closer again. He kind of wants the value in the minion presence.
Yeah. How many cards does Casie have left now? It's getting thinner. Jarla still has probably... It looks like a full deck, basically.
Yeah, I think he's... Oh, yeah, down to 10 cards. Okay, probably reverse like 22. Okay. Yeah. Still not really even close, to be honest, as Jarla just hasn't really drawn many cards. I imagine he will. Like, as soon as he's offered a shield block off the top, which I believe is still in his deck. Yeah, just straight away.
Because that thing will never matter. Oh, delivery drone. So Casie needs more stuff, basically, to do punch through. More stuff, yeah. And Jarla here is sitting. He has like Dynomatic, which doesn't do much on this board because of the mechs. But he has like the stealth mech, which is good to magnetize on. And
that's true. That's true.
So he has a good option. He got like a fairly good Omega Assembly, like mid-sized minions.
So if we see Dynomatic this turn, doesn't make much sense because clear off your own guy. Ziliax on this turn can be used to help clear up some of this stuff. That Security Rover is just really annoying. If you ping it, it makes another guy. You can't get it to the point where Mind Control Tech steals anything.
Yeah, because he kills it off.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing was, the Copper Tail, the stealthed one, is really good to place down because you can get this big Ziliax heal the next turn.
Good point.
Yeah, it's a 4/4, and that's 7 heal. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And it will probably heal more as well because Casie doesn't have a way to remove it unless he Psychic Screams.
So then I guess we are looking at from Jarla here, Copper Tail on this turn, Ziliax next turn, because you can even get that through to face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
You can also ping if you want, but it doesn't do much. It's a 2/1. And yeah, he even puts up that. It's a big Copper Tail. Fine,
pretty cute.
The delivered. Oh, another Ziliax though.
I think he might be considering Steel Rager, considering how high of a health total he's at, and that is more removal immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing with Ziliax though, it's like
it's Ziliax.
Yeah, and the thing is the Steel Rager didn't do anything because the Drake is
it didn't do anything right now. Yeah. But Casie gets 2 damage through to face finally in his aggro deck. And he gets the Zap Cannon. Okay.
But now he's going to get shocked there because this Ziliax is coming down and going to heal for 8.
Well, he knows that that's there because he has Alena'd it. So as sad as he will be to see it, he knows that it's a possibility.
Yeah. What other plays are there? You can play some Dire Horns and just put stuff in the way of Casie. These Dire Horns is like Casie, when he sees them, it's like, oh, why did I put them in my deck?
Why didn't I fill my deck with Wisps when I knew my opponent would Benedictus it?
Well, why don't no Cold-Crown Elites? And why not just build a Tempo Warrior instead? I really want that to happen, though. I've seen some people trying Tempo Warrior because of the Town Crier and the new weapon.
Yeah, Darius.
Yeah, and Darius, of course, it has a lot of potential. It's just lacking like a couple of good cards, and then it's just over the edge.
Is that lack of potential as in code for this deck's rubbish, or real potential as in like, well, you know, it could be a thing.
It could be a thing, and the problem also is like with a lot of decks, suddenly it showed up like the Resurrect Priest that's been showing up. No,
that's true.
Just showing up out of the blue, taking top 1 legend. Well, it's Asmodai. It takes everything to top 1 legend, but it's quite good to see that.
Maybe he could take Tempo Warrior to rank 1 legend.
Yeah,
should ask him.
You love Tempo Mage? It's almost the same.
I think there's a bit of a difference. But now for Casie, we were talking about the dangers, the perils of losing board control. And it seems like for the moment he may have been forced into a situation where he is going to be struggling to pull back board control for the moment, as he doesn't really have any removal outside of Psychic Scream, which he never wants to use evenly. He wants to be using that to just destroy his opponent's board whilst he has nothing. So he's just going to be sending off these pings through to face. Given that he knows there's a Ziliax in hand,
was that,
do you think that was a little bit preemptive, a little too aggressive?
It might be, but it also, he might want Ziliax to be forced out.
That's a good point. Forces it out, Psychic Screams it away. It only heals once. Steel heals for 8 though. That's a lot of work that Casey's been putting in, just countered straight away.
But Jarla here is just trying to figure out a way to clear this minion off as easy as possible without losing much of his own stuff. Because what he basically wants is he wants the game plan to go for a long time. And now he has the board. He just have to remain having the board with tons of taunts so Casie can't push face. And currently it looks like Jarla is in the leading or in the driver's seat here, just dictating everything.
And I think to go back to what I was saying at the start of this game, where I think we were both fairly surprised at seeing the mulligan of Benedictus in the starting hand. Now that we've seen his strategy, where he played it as soon as he drew it, even above playing Anduin or anything like that, he had a game plan from the start. And I think it was actually quite smart. Just the fact that Azalina cannot mess up his game plan. It cannot lead to a turn limit game where it's a draw. It will instead go to the point where Casie, in all likelihood, will just lose in fatigue.
And seeing this here, though, Jarla is drawing. He has tons of cards, and then he plays like 1 or 2 cards a turn, and just waiting for the right moment to play anything else. And it's just being patient and just grinding it out. And it's interesting to see because everyone dreads casting the Odd Warrior Mirror, but this is equally as slow. But it's more interesting, I feel, because Odd Warrior Mirror much of it comes down to who gets maybe the better hero power from Dr. Boom, who uses the resources better, and plans ahead better.
This is uncharted waters.
Yeah, anything can happen. And it's almost an Odd Warrior Mirror because of Archbishop Benedictus just shuffling in like 17 cards.
Yeah. It's interesting seeing the difference of how much worse Anduin has been than Dr. Boom so far, because Jarla, I think, would just be in such a good spot if he had been able to get the Dr. Boom rather than Anduin. He hasn't been able to heal up, so he's had to make weird plays to play around damage through to face. He hasn't been able to really generate any kind of value or board presence because his cards are so expensive that he can only get 1, maybe 2 pings in a turn.
Yeah, and he's been using all the cheap ones. Like, he has Omega Assembly and Northside Clerics and stuff like that, but most of the cheap cards are already gone because he had to use them to push damage early or push the armor total early.
We also had in the global games an Archbishop Benedictus Priest mirror, where it was 2 control priests with Archbishop Benedictus, but we quickly realized that it was not going to be the infinite game we were thinking. It was just Anduin, Alexstrasza, Mind Blast to close out the game. It was much more a standard game. It's really only when you're messing about with Odd Warrior armor totals that it extends to these extreme lengths.
Microbots.
What is that? Steel Rager? Yeah. Just minions.
Stuff,
yeah, just stuff to throw down. Really just mostly hero power reactivations and stuff to make it a little bit difficult for Casie to develop onto the board, which is all Jarla really needs to be worrying about.
Yeah, Jarla's hand is getting thin as well. Casie's hand.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, Casie's hand is getting thin. Jarla has everything.
Oh, there we go. That's the pack that Casie was absolutely looking for as soon as possible.
So the plan now is get Elise of the pack, and just get Elise of the next pack, and then get Elise of the next pack, and never go into fatigue.
Yeah, just slightly unfortunate ordering there for Casie. One of those minions was definitely going to die off, so it was either a 1-health cleric or a 1-health mind control tech, and he gets a little bit unfortunate having a 1-health guy now, but he can still throw down the pack. He would be burning a card then, so I guess he'll probably go Bronze Gatekeeper,
Just be safe. Just having, like, it's 4 damage. It's not much, but it helps. Every little bit helps. Jarla got that pack will never be seen, though. It's going to be so far into the deck at that point. But Jarla here is also, it's like, he has so many options, but none of them are really, he would love to have more cheap spells. You could just ping these 3 times, but he doesn't have the minions to do it.
I think every option here for Jarla, though, is just fine, because Casie isn't going to be killing him quickly enough to the point where he doesn't have time to develop minions. Like, even on this turn, if we were to see hero power, what is that called? Spring Rocket, I think, the 3-mana deal 2 damage. He can clear off the board on this turn, so nothing even comes face. Or
You can also use
yeah,
the Steel Rager.
whatever. He
Yeah.
has the ability to clear off the board is the basic point.
He would love to have different options though, but this works because Casie doesn't have many cards left now. So Dr. Boom is having his hard time. He needs the master plan.
Yeah, this would be a good time for a master plan, but unfortunately, I don't know if he's going to be finding one. Okay, I guess this you take 1 damage through to face here, whilst also developing a pretty nice big board in the meanwhile, just making it even harder once again for Casie to get onto the board.
Seeing Casie here now as well, like he doesn't like besides the Ungoro pack. This isn't like really the cards he was looking for.
Yeah.
He has like the Celiac that doesn't do much. He has like a Super Collider, but the thing is like the Super Collider doesn't push anything pace, so
Yeah.
it's never really what he wants. The Explodinator is decent though. It's 4 damage face over.
That's true.
If you can kill it.
That's true.
So that's always a good thing. And using Celiacs on one of the bombs also makes it possible to, basically use the bombs for. It makes you able to trigger the bombs.
This is good. I mean, this is just basic Hearthstone principles, I think, in effect here, in that generally speaking, especially when you're playing for tempo, you play out the good cards in your hand first, then you draw afterwards, once you've run out of stuff to do.
Yeah.
And Casie here is playing his good cards first, he's developing onto the board as much as possible, then he'll play his pack afterwards to refill.
And he's also pushing 1 damage face, which might be important. But yeah, this is getting. Casie has really few resources left now, and he needs to like really make them count.
He could have pushed an extra 3 damage through to face by magnetizing the Ziliax onto the Bronze Gatekeeper, I think, and then trading in the 3-2 Explodinator into the Spring Rocket, which would have meant taking a very bad trade with a 3-2 into a 2-1.
But it's going to get pinged off anyway, so it's...
But yeah, maybe that would have been better. It gives him a wider board here, but having 2 minions at 2 health is obviously very poor, against the hero power.
Yeah, this hero power has been doing work, though. It hasn't been going face, but it has been doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's even almost better than the rush effect from Dr. Boom.
It's been close, yeah. It's been very close. I mean, maybe I was understating how good Anduin's been for Jarla. Maybe it has just been better than Dr. Boom, because it's been pretty evenly just counteracting everything that Casey's been trying to do.
Where's Jarla? You can't really... Well, you can kill off with the leads, you can kill it off, but it's like trying to find a way to not use exactly that, but it seems like in the end he just has to do it and take 2 more damage to face. And now it's getting... Yeah, the Stone of Defender here is also quite good for Casie. It can give him one more... something like Lich King or something.
Yeah.
Would give him more options to go further in.
It's true. That would be very nice. Lich King, what are the warrior ones are there? Another Direhorn Hatchling, I suppose. Tower Lord. Yeah, it's a little bit unaggressive. I like the damage Stegatron more, yeah.
It's a high damage one. This is also, you see here, using the Super Collider now and spawning the microbots and just clearing the board.
Yeah, complete board clear, I like it.
And then clearing the rest of the microbots. Or just building the microbots and not clearing them. Because they have to trade it too.
True, yeah, good point.
Just having, because that's representing 3 damage next turn, or 3 pings from Jarla.
Yeah, this is a lot better while you have the Stonehill protecting you.
Yeah, because the Stonehill, well, it trades so good into this.
And Casie, again, just making the play of developing onto the board as much as he can, because Super Collider, I guess, isn't a play onto the board, but it will help you to clear the way, clear the runway for damage to go face on later turns. Then, I imagine we might finally start to see the Ungoro pack coming down, as that will be potentially a good amount of threat if he can get himself
some
big guy, yeah.
Tyrantus,
Ultrasaur. A shuffle card, like another release, perhaps. We've already seen that once today from Conmari.
Direhorns is good, yeah.
All good stuff.
Yeah, the Ungoro had a lot of big stuff, a lot of big dinosaurs.
A lot of big dinosaurs, yeah. You'd take any of them, I think. Well, fortunately for us, Benedictus is not a dinosaur. It's not Archosaurus Benedino. Oh my god. Yeah.
That was horrible.
I don't want to think about the potential of another Benedictus entering the game here.
Then we approaching the turn limit, I think.
Very, very easily, yeah. There we go. That is much more like it for Casie. Ooh.
Mechanical weapon and the weaponized pinata.
Weaponized pinata. If he thinks he's in a really dire spot, he will take the pretty objectively worst statted minion of weaponized pinata to look for something that can pull him back into this game.
Archbishop.
Could it be Archbishop Benedictus?
What is hiding inside his pinata? Will we see this turn, or he wants to maybe play like a damaged Stegadon instead and with the pack?
Yeah, that's very possible.
Puts more threats on the table.
All right, what's in the box here?
Oh, Tyrantus!
That is a lot of big
good.
boys.
Yeah, Swamp King Dread. Oh, that
those
three
are
big
all
boys.
good cards. Yeah, 3 very good cards.
Yeah.
And
And the Obsidian Shard is also not bad
Fine,
because he played a lot of like priest cards.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Well, a couple.
Yeah, couples. It's only 3 mana now.
Yeah.
This is not horrible. That was actually a pretty good pack for. It wasn't that good if you were looking for in the other matchups, but this one is like a lot of big boys.
Yeah, I
And
think
Tyrantus is always good.
Tyrantus you will just take in the control matchups.
Yeah.
It could be enough to get the job done.
Yeah.
For
Or force
Casie.
out a scream.
Yes. At which point, hey, you've only got 2 cards left in the deck
Yeah,
at this
so
point, or close. You just play it again.
Shadowy thoughts.
That's that could actually be very important.
And this might be the pack that pulls him back into the game, pulls him like
Yeah.
actually winning the game.
Because he doesn't want shuffle cards at this point anyway, because he's not even close to winning on fatigue. There's no amount of shuffle cards or like Direhorn or Raptor Hatchling or Elise that could pull him back in this game in terms of fatigue. He needs to win on board, and these are good board cards.
Very good board cards. Like even the giant mastodon is like it's a huge
fine,
minion.
yeah.
It's an arena minion, but it's in this case it's really good.
I mean, if you look at Jarla's hand, this is an arena hand at the moment.
Yeah, this is
We've
a
started
random-
playing arena
yeah,
here. Yeah.
Going for shadow. You're going for the shield block. Yeah,
Yeah, that's real
yeah.
nice. Oh, I forgot about visions into shield block. It's another way of gaining a little bit of extra health, which is very important because he's still at that point where damage through to face is real good for Casie. And I wonder if, therefore, we might get a glimpse of the largest of boys, Tyrantus.
Still wants to pull ahead and
Yeah, I guess he should get the value while he can.
playing a big board and forcing the psychic scream, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, he even uses the super card because he's equipping Obsidian Shard next round and just punching that face. It's 9 damage face. Is it 3/3 or 3/4? It's 3/3.
It's a 3/3.
3/3, yeah. So that's 9 damage face. That's a lot of damage for 2. That's almost a Pyroblast. But he has the big aim hunter though. The big aim hunter is something from his Casie's deck that really can disrupt the Tyrantus.
Oh yeah, it come back. Oh my god, Benedictus, you genius.
Coming back to haunt everyone. But if he plays something like Swamp King Dread instead and just baits out that, because he knows it's big game hunter in the deck.
That's true. That's probably why he didn't go for Tyrantus then.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
He's
one
afraid
of
of
the reasons anyway.
This puts a lot of pressure on the board as well.
And if if Swamp King Dread does come down, Big Game Hunter would kill it. It wouldn't get eaten by it because the battle cry goes first, right? Then the minion is summoned. This is testing all facets of our Hearthstone knowledge.
It should be like that.
I think it should be. Yeah, I agree.
And
There we go. Casie
Finally,
is
the Microbot comes out. Last card in the deck.
finally through to fatigue, and I think we might be getting a glimpse of what is inside that weaponized pinata. Could it be something to pull this back? I'm talking Rin, I'm talking Benedictus.
I'm talking he's just building an even bigger
Oh,
board
okay, yeah, maybe
with
not
Obsidian
even
Shard and Hero Power and just
He's getting it all through to face. He realizes what
Everything's-
his chance to win in this game is, and I think this is... Casie realized this right from the start.
Yeah.
The win condition in this fatigue matchup
he needs 2
is
more
damage
damage.
to
He
face.
needs 2 more damage from what he knows.
Wow.
He needs 2 more damage to face with the weapon. And that's 1 sap, for instance. Jarla here has the shield block though, but
He has to clear the board as well.
Yeah.
Does he Psychic Scream?
that's horrible. No?
That is pretty horrible. So it could be,
Steel Rager.
yeah, ping, Steel Rager,
Shadowy
ping. You're not fitting in the
thoughts.
shield block then, but he doesn't have to play shield block on this turn, I guess.
No. And then he trades the 3/3 of the 1/2 into. The thing is also this bomb represents 2 damage.
That's
It's
true.
From
yeah.
if for some reason manages to get through.
Yeah.
Casie has really played like using all his resources at maximum capacity just to get through, because this has been a long, grueling game, and he knows that, yeah, now it's fatigue, and I will never kill him now because Jarla still has half his deck left.
Yeah, I like the way Casey's played this a lot, because he's realized stuff that we didn't even realize until Jarla drew it, like the big game hunter, which could have just destroyed him. Like, that would have been lights out if his Tyrantus had been big game hunted, because that is such a loss in terms of board control.
Here he clears it up with the Steel Rager, just not to die, but there's still 5 damage represented on board.
So I guess this turn is a Swamp King Dread turn. Well, actually, if you're maybe it's a Giant Mastodon turn if you're expecting BGH.
Yeah. You want to fit in a hero power now, because of the it's a good hero power.
It's a good hero power. Yeah. Well, clearly not.
Well, he wants to. I think he just wants to force, like, you have to scream or you're dead.
Maximum damage on board.
Yeah, scream or you're dead.
Yeah. I guess this is the highest amount of damage you can put on board without being weak to BGH, and this is clearly Casey's thinking at this point. Especially as once the Psychic Scream does come down, he can have a 1 minion army in Tyrantus.
Yeah.
Or even just Giant Mastodon on its own should be able to get there. Because
and Screaming also gives him more hero powers from Dr. Boom.
That's true.
He gives him more turns to basically just put stuff through. And Jarla here is really struggling now to find out, because if he just pings and pings off the small stuff, there's still 3 damage in the weapon.
Like any single point of minion pressure on board here is too much for Jarla.
Yeah.
He just has to Psychic Scream. But he knows there are 3 Ungoro cards left in Casey's hand, which could be really scary.
Yeah. And he doesn't want to give him 5 more turns of non-fatiguing.
Yeah. So maybe he pings first, just gets rid of the
Pinata.
1-1.
Or 1-1, yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to give him the Death Rattle right now.
This is rough.
You don't want to give him another 4-3 though.
He just screams the full lot, basically.
Okay, develops onto the board.
And Casie here now.
Yeah, I guess the thinking for Jarla is still...
Piloted Reaper isn't that bad. It's a 4-3, and it pulls out the Microbot. He plays a Skater Bot.
No, where was the bravery to go for a Llama Bot? Look at this hand. This is like the best Llama Bot hand in Hearthstone history. It probably still was the wrong pick, because it just gets killed every time. But
here comes the Swamp King Dread.
Even then.
And if you could see Jarla's face now, you would probably go like, oh, come on, a big boy from the...
He has no idea how
there's
grim of a
more big
situation
boys
he's
incoming.
in. And even with the pickup of another shield block, I just don't know if he's going to have enough clear to deal with all of this. Big Game Hunter to deal with this 9-9, as I very much expect to see come down. He doesn't know there's another one waiting in the wings. Or another giant minion, at least.
Yeah. He has, like... I mean, he knows it's a Baku as well.
That's true. Yeah. Which is also very scary.
Yeah. So he knows there's a lot of minions that he needs to kill, but like, how should he do it? Like, if he develops the Big Game Hunter now and pings off the Microbot and do like shield block or something like that, he still doesn't have an answer for the Abaku.
Yeah.
Unless he has stuff he can double ping with.
So there's the BGH working as we expected as well.
Yeah, he doesn't even ping off the 1-1 because he needed more board pressure.
Stuff on board.
More stuff on board.
He's got the shield block now, so
and
board
now Casie just like, well, that's your only BGH.
Yeah.
What are you going to do now?
Finally, it's Tyrantus time. And what is Jarla going to do? I don't think he has any more Psychic Screams. He needs a way to deal with this. With a ping, that's 8 damage now, so we can go Silence, Duskbreaker, Ping, and that kills it off, I think. Because he has 8 damage, 10, 12. So he's got the clear.
That's horrible.
That is horrible, I agree, but he's got it.
And that's recognizing that he puts the... Instead of pinging off the 1-1, even though his life total is low, he put the 4-4 in play just because, in case of something like this.
And then he gets Giant Mastodon. Yeah. I didn't know that was a verb, but apparently it is.
We can verb all the Hearthstone cards.
Yeah.
You got Baku'd.
You get utterly Baku'd, yeah.
You got Duskbreakered by the Dusky Boys.
I just don't see any other play left available to Jarla.
You can have something of shield block, but I don't know
I don't know what's there.
That's like shield slam, but that's gone. And yeah, so he has to go for... Oh yeah, you can do it with shield
Oh,
block
sorry,
instead,
yeah, okay.
But then he's still taking one damage more.
Either way, with the silence coming in, as long as you're clearing off this board.
Yeah, and it gives him the owl still on board, but it's still not looking that great. The weaponized pinata is something.
It's just more damage.
Yeah.
Anything that can be thrown down on the board here for Casie, he is very happy.
And we
to
probably
go with.
see that on the 1/1 to push 2 damage instead. Yeah. It's the last stretch here now. And Jarla has the Dustbreaker now for clearing up this board.
And this is where saving the Dustbreaker was clearly the far superior play.
Yeah.
Oh,
even
unless he
even
wants
Cabal,
to go
Cabal
ping, Cabal, ping. Yeah.
And just clear off.
Yeah.
And then gives him a decent board, 4/5 on the 2/1.
He has to tank 1 damage then. And clearly he doesn't want to go for that.
No, the 2/2 has a rush. So you can clear it to the 1/1.
Oh yeah, good point. Good point.
But now with the pack, it's different. Oh, we have the glyph though.
He has a Tyrantus of his own. Primordial Glyph as a priest, that could be real good.
Yeah,
what if you get yourself...
healing.
yeah, just any kind of healing's good. There's a lot of clear cards as well.
Yeah, look, he's just playing Bell.
Is this better than playing Cabal Shadow Priest? I don't know if Cabal Shadow Priest is going to be good again. Maybe Dustbreaker isn't going to be good again, though.
You know what's good with Vel?
What?
Sap.
That is true.
6 damage to face.
Just to be clear, you do have a lovely Norwegian accent. That's Zap, not the rogue card, Sap.
Yeah, Sap,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Just
Sap,
checking, because Sap is very good against Prophet Vel, and I agree.
That's true. But he gets microbots, then yeah. This is also like, it's a 6/10, how do you clear this one? It's basically Casey's every turn's like, I got a big boy, clear it.
And Jarla has to go double ping, and now, against all the odds, it does look like he has been able to deal with most of the threats so far. Prophet Velen, like you said, Velen into Zap. Maybe that's enough to push a little bit of extra damage to get there.
Oof. This isn't the best though.
Copy 2 cards in your opponent's deck and add them to your hand. What would that... That's like microbots, right?
One is microbot and the bomb.
Oh, yeah.
And that's about it, yeah. A
So
Tyrantus.
do you take Mind Vision for a random legendary?
Mind Vision for a random card in your opponent's hand, yeah. You know it's Baku, and you know it's a random legendary. You know it's, yeah. The Skulking guy's got shuffle it, he knows the cards that are there.
It's all not very appetizing, to be honest. That is not the selection that Jarla wanted whatsoever.
He wanted something to heal it. But the Shadow of Pain works with like the microbot, just to kill it off. Now he's just playing the 4/8 just to get a ping, playing the Emerald. No, he's not playing the Emerald Reaver. There's the bomb, man. Last card.
There's the Goblin Bomb. And unless he can get in a very good amount of damage to face right now, it looks like Jarla might have finally crept over the finish line. But he's still got Prophet Vel and he's still got Baku. Maybe that's enough.
Well.
There's the Zap. That is, what, 6 damage through to face next turn.
That means if the Geist lives.
This is so close.
Well, he has the Direhorn Matriarch that basically saves him. And he can,
But if he doesn't kill off the Goblin Bomb, eventually that's 2 damage to face as well.
Yeah.
Unless, well, actually, I guess it just never dies, does it?
Well,
you can zap your own
but
guy, but then you lose damage, yeah.
How does Casey... this is... So he needs to put up a taunt or kill the Geist.
He can't silence his own guy, and he can't taunt his own guy.
So you can play the Direhorn Matriarch, which is 6/9, which is hard to get through.
Yes, yeah.
And then he can ping the 1/1.
Yeah.
And then ping face or something like that. Because...
Or if he wants to get damage through to face to close things out quicker, we could start to see a lot of pings going to face just to end the game.
He's also considering maybe playing the Emerald Reaver, even though that's 1 damage to your own face. It's also a minion on board.
Yeah, okay.
That can push more. But he's pinged the Geist once, so he can just double ping it next turn. If something happens.
Yeah, I guess. Because he does not know what this random legendary minion is. We can clearly see here, Prophet Velen
clears off this one.
Oh, and now it's stuck on the board. Is there the clear here for Jarla in what is pretty much the last threat to be developed? Ping, Emerald Reaver.
Shadow Visions is good though. Gives him extra pings. He can...
He needs to get 4 pings though to do it this turn.
Yeah.
Like, that means he needs to play 3 cards at 2 mana or less, which is
What
not
do you have
possible.
has left in his deck though for Shadow Visions? That's also a question.
Another shield block, right? Or did he draw the one off the top?
Shadowy thoughts.
Drew the one off the top. I'm not sure if he had. Yeah.
It obviously gets very confusing
Yeah.
with Archbishop Benedictus nonsense, but I believe he might have another shield block there available off of the Shadow Visions. But that is a fine card to get because he needs to get some answer to this Prophet Velen, even if it's just a brawl that he got off of the...
Oh yeah, that's
the
the shield block. Yeah,
okay.
perfect. But he's getting to fatigue soon as well.
Yeah, that's true.
But Casie only has the Baku left, and the hero
man,
power,
it's
of course.
close.
The shadow.
This is much closer than his
6
cards
cards
left.
left. Okay,
so
he's still
yeah.
safe.
It just looks much
Yeah.
less. Shield block, ping again. Oh, another shield block. Oh.
Velen gets to connect face. That's so big.
The next turn it's dead, but
Next turn is dead, but that's fine. The damage has been
yeah,
done.
you're playing Baku here as well. so-
One final hurrah from Casie, just saying, if you can't clear this, I win the game. And we'll be rolling over if he
No.
is able to get the clear.
No, he
but
doesn't
there's
have a
no
dragon.
dragon.
There's no dragon. Maybe from shield.
Shield
No,
block?
But then he doesn't have enough.
So if he needs to fit in 2 pings preferably
Did you
as
have
well.
any dragons left? No, I don't think so. He's out of dragons.
He's completely out of dragons. He must have something. I guess maybe not.
Darkness speaks to me.
He can't swap and power word shield. If he goes shield block, he can still fit in 2 pings with a power word,
Yeah.
with Shadow Word Death, sorry. So if he goes ping, shield block, like ping shield block is always the play, right? That's
Yeah.
how you start. Or I guess you could start with a shield block because you should be able to get in enough pings anyway. But yeah, this is a good way to start trying to find a dragon for the Twilight Acolyte.
There's no dragon.
Ooh! That's pretty good though.
He needs
But he
to play
can't
it.
get the ping in as well.
Yeah, but he needs to play it or else he's dead.
No, he's alive because he only
shield
takes 7
block,
damage.
Yeah. But it's
So he survives at 5 health.
yeah, and then the delivery drone is not.
I guess he is out of dragons or he wouldn't be playing out
Yeah.
the Twilight Acolyte.
4 damage.
And now a magnetized mech. Could that deliver the remaining 5 damage?
Brilliant nullifier.
That's not enough. He can't magnetize it on and do the damage right now. It is... He can't kill off his own guy.
No.
It's 2 damage off lethal.
But yeah, how do Jarla clear this though?
Can he get lethal? How much fatigue was taken? That's it. I
4,
think
it's
that's
5,
fatigue.
yeah, it's
He
5.
realizes that's just lethal next turn with the fatigue taken.
It's taking 5 fatigue. So Jarla needs 3 pings. How can you do 3 pings?
Which
yeah,
he can get. He can even play the Emerald
Yeah.
Reaver for extra damage. I think that's just it.
Yeah, and with the
Oh my
God, what a game!
That was so
Jarla's finding
close.
everything, and I just play the Emerald Reaver, so you're down to 1 health just for fun.
And this is a game where we're going to have to talk to Casie, any of his teammates, any of the players who have been watching there. Was there anything Casie could have done to get that last 1 damage through, 1 damage off lethal at the end of a Benedictus versus Odd Warrior matchup?
And wow, yeah, this was something, and this
Pretty much falls by the wayside. You don't really care about the Benedictus. It's much more about Anduin, Twilight Drakes, Alex Straza,
Mind Blast.
Mind Blast, exactly. Getting the damage through to face for an early lethal.
Yeah, and having enough removal early so you can actually just punch it through so you don't get overrun by a giant. Because that's the Casey's plan, Twilight Drakes and Giants.
I'm still thinking, like, on the turn where he played Weaponized Pinata plus Skulking Geist, could he have gone for Tyrantus or Swamp King Dread then? Man,
There's
be
probably
thinking
some
about that
order
game for ages. Yeah,
there's probably some order that could have made it out either way, but it was close.
yeah.
It was so Jarla also had all the actual things he needed, and he played like extra minions instead of getting in pings and removing microbots and stuff like that, where just because I need minion pressure, because if it comes a big minion, I need to clear it with minions because I can't ping enough.
And here we see a pretty expected mulligan for Jarla. The Twilight Drake is definitely what you're looking for in the early turns, just to get that minion pressure on the board. And with a hand like this, if he can find, well, he already has an answer to, well, quote-unquote answer to the Mountain Giant, an immediate response to it at least. If he can find Anduin, Alex Straza, should be in a really good spot.
Yeah. And Casie here also picking up Giant and the Twilight Drake. both which are really good because Twilight, the priest doesn't run any silence, so or even runs mass dispel, but it's it doesn't really do anything on the empty board. So having the Twilight Drake out first, maybe to bait something like the Twilight Acolyte or something like that,
very possibly
could be something Casie is considering, or just having a Mountain Giant, hoping it has no answer and just go face.
However, if Jarla does end up with a Wild Pyromancer on board, that would allow for a a Mass Dispel response to a Twilight Drake. He obviously doesn't even have the Mass Dispel, and this is, I mean, maybe one of the reasons why Casie's thrown down the Beetle. It's probably just a lot more simple in, I have 2 spare mana, let's play my guy.
Yeah, and it doesn't disrupt his Mountain Giant math, or his Twilight Drake is still going to be
nice
quite
and
big.
easy.
Yeah, you can even tap a Mountain Giant next turn, so it's like the normal. It's tap 1, tap 2, and tap 3, and a 2 drop on turn 3 is like perfectly fine to get your Mountain Giants out.
So Jarla going to be debating with himself. The coin Twilight Drake, is it worth it here? What is the amount of health it will have? That would be, what, a 4/6, I believe it would be, if he coined it out, which is miserable against a Mountain Giant. Not even that good against an opposing Twilight Drake. I think it would just get value traded if it connected twice.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like it's accomplishing that much, to be perfectly honest. Especially as if he holds back the coin, he could set up for coin Psychic Scream. Maybe coin Anduin if he finds that instead.
Yeah. Or stealing something like the Homunculus or something.
That's true. Yep.
With the Cabal Shadow Priest.
Yeah, I think I like holding back here. If it was against a more aggressive match, getting out the Twilight Drake, I could understand, because it would contest the small minions. But against the big minions, it just doesn't do enough.
Yeah. There we see Casie he's doing the Twilight Drake first.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah.
We're seeing this just more and more from even block players. It's pretty much always now the Drake first to bait out the removal, then you go Giant.
Yeah. There's a few matchups where you do Mountain Giant instead, just because they don't have removal for it anyways.
I guess against the Mirror, you'd probably go even the Giant as soon as possible.
You value trade the Drake.
Yeah, exactly.
And here comes the Mountain Giant. That's going to get most likely Twilight Acolyte.
I would expect
with, 9 out of 10 times. And then it will be follow-up with probably a Cabal Shadow Priest as well. So.
And the reason why I said earlier that, you know, it's a quote-unquote answer is there is counterplay to the Twilight Acolyte from Casie. He can silence his own Giant, which is a very nice way of getting that damage through to face going once again. Even just answering the opponent's Twilight Acolyte with, say, a Spellstone or something of his own.
Yeah.
That does leave him with still a 2/8, which is, unless it gets Cabal Shadow Priested, not that bad.
Yeah, and with when Casie also has the Twilight Drake, the Twilight Acolyte never gains more health. It basically means that he can just trade it in as well, and it still survives with 1 health.
Yeah. And, you know, therefore, for those reasons that it's not the perfect answer, there was, I think, maybe some hesitation that instead of playing it here, you set up for a coin Psychic Scream instead. But because in the best case scenario, or even just the average scenario, you end up stealing the 2/8 with a Cabal Shadow Priest, I do really like going for this here.
And he's considering trading or going face. Because the face damage matters for Jarla here, because he already has 1 Mind Blast, and then suddenly... Yeah, if he picks up the second one, that's 10 damage burst out of nothing.
Yeah, you get them down to 18 health, which is not that bad. 17 would be too much, I think, because it sets up tap Hooked Reaver. Even though they would end up burning a card, actually, if they wanted to do that. But it would also set up Homunculus Hooked Reaver.
Here comes the Silence, though. In time.
That is a spicy top deck.
That's probably the play here.
Oh, yeah.
It develops a 4/3 as well, and you can trade in the 4/5 into the 8/4, and everything's just lovely.
This is like everything Dark Iron Dwarf wishes it was. Like a 4-drop that gives a friendly minion +6.
That can't be silenced off.
Oh, love it. So this is going to be the easiest Coin Benedictus of Jarla's life.
Yeah, of course. Nothing beats Coin Benedictus. He wants those cards. He wants the cooldown. But yeah, the Psychic Stream is looks very yummy here for Jarla, but because he's staring down 14 damage when it's at 18, and that's like, yeah, that's not... Casie can't kill you, but it's not far from it.
I just don't see any other choice here. You're not dead, I suppose, if you heal face because you're taking 14. Wow. Okay. taking
Shadow
the
Priest.
very, very brave route indeed of just mitigating the damage. I suppose once you take away the 2, you're only taking 12, 15. I mean, you're never dead because they can't afford to go double Hellfire. But you do go down very, very low, which means all your next few turns are going to have to be uncomfortably defensive, I think, to a degree where you'd rather not make those plays.
But he has to Divine Him as well, so gives him an option to heal back up. Divine Him is really strong to just heal the last few. And maybe he was also hoping to draw the Anduin if, for instance, the Dread Infernal comes down, because he can just clear board and just full skies ahead.
And Casie made himself incredibly vulnerable to a coin Anduin on this turn. His entire board would be wiped and Jarla's would be untouched. So maybe because of that, we instead could have seen Shroom on this turn.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have allowed the Twilight Drake, the Spellbreaker to trade. So their board does become a lot better because you can't kill off their Cabal Shadow Priest. So maybe because everything, well, yeah, actually, if you play Shroom, your board dies anyway, just in response to theirs.
Yeah.
So maybe taking the risk here is a gamble for Casie. It's something we've been talking about towards the start of the series.
Is a gambler,
well, it's just talking about, are you willing to make these risky plays? Do you have the mettle to potentially lose the game on the spot if it doesn't go your way?
He's coining out the Twilight Drake and just clears up the Giant. It trades favorably into the Dread Infernal.
I think that's just lethal, though, with Hellfire, Spellstone. That's going to be just enough for Casie to get over the finish line, I think, and get himself up to a 2-2 scoreline.
Yeah, and that's good for Casie.
That's real big.
And then we have the Even Lock versus the Hunter. And that is an interesting matchup to see.
Yeah, it's not brilliant for Casie. I would definitely rather be on the side of the Death Rattle Hunter than the Even Warlock. I feel like the threats are too consistent from the Death Rattle Hunter in the fact that they have Egg and Terrascale in the early game, and then later on they've got Even Warlock struggles at the best of times with very early development. But in the later stages of the game, it struggles, against Death Rattle Hunter, it struggles pretty big time because there is the very awkwardly shaped 5/5 Devil Saws, which Even Warlock can't deal too well with. You don't want a Hellfire because you kill off their eggs. As we do get to see a pretty spicy tech card there from Jarla.
Jarla has, he has a different
Dread in his deck after he almost lost to it against an odd warrior.
And this is quite cool though from Jarla, seeing that the Swamp King Dread, getting it from stuff like Katharina is so good versus a lot of decks that relies on putting minions on board to challenge and stuff like that, because the Swamp King Dread it's not a card we see a lot. It's a flavorful and cool card. It just eats minions.
I thought that when Priest was really bad before Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, and then they printed Dragonfire Potion and Draconid Operative and Cabal Talon Priest, 3 of the most broken cards that Hearthstone's ever seen. I was kind of fooled into thinking Swamp King Dread was that for Hunter. I thought it was the deliberately, obtusely overpowerful card just to try and bring the class back to the forefront. I was clearly wrong, it would seem, but I like that it's finding its spot in the sunlight now for Jarla.
Yeah, that's a little bit about the thing about Hunter as well, because they have the 2 damage ping as a hero power, which actually, even though it suits really well for an aggro deck, it also suits actually for a control deck. It's like inevitability. You're going to die when I press this 15 times if you don't have healing. And a lot of people are waiting for this control Hunter to really emerge. We have some almost control hunters, but they're more mid-rangey with some control elements. But one day we will get there when you just...
I mean, Death Rattle Hunter is
kind of control.
It's not really, to be honest. It's not actual control. It's just not an aggro deck, and it's one of the few times we've seen a Hunter deck that is definitely not an aggro deck.
You see, Jarla here was also thinking long before he equipped that Candle Shot. I think it punished immediately with that Ooze coin-plated beetle, just giving Casie the board he needs, even though he doesn't have the Giants or the Drakes. Yeah,
it sets up for a strong counter to Candle Shot Hunter's Mark, which is really what he would be afraid of if he did get a big minion off the top. Clearly we can see Casie does not have such a minion. He has nothing that he can throw down on the next turn. So instead he's just going wide on the board here to try and, I guess, give himself the ability to kill off a Houndmaster Shore. to kill off a Saronite chain gang that could come down from Jarla.
Yeah, and it's just basically one of the problems with Death Rattle Hunter is it can't handle a whiteboard anymore.
Yeah.
So, because it doesn't have any AoE, it doesn't have anything like that. It's like, whiteboards, how do I handle that? Yeah, they have to punch through my Witchwood Grizzly. That's that's the reason.
It's obviously not a perfect turn, though, because Casie does have to use up the coin here. So his turns were either Ooze Pass or Ooze
Tap.
Well, no, I think Ooze Tap would have meant that he burns a card because he had the coin and the Beetle in hand, so he was at 9 cards.
It's a Ooze Pass, yeah.
Yeah, so it was Ooze Pass or coin the 2-drop. It does mean he can't go something like coin 6-drop into 6-drop. He can't go coin Lich King, but it does open up the possibility, as we see here, for him to go really wide on the board.
Yeah, this looks like doesn't look like an even lock board. It looks like a zoo board.
It does. A really,
wrong
really bad
minions,
zoo
but,
board.
yeah, wrong minions, but it's still like a 3-2 and a 2-3.
Yeah.
One day, a lot of 2-drops, so that means non-Kelazet zoo, basically.
Don't even talk to me about non-Kelazet zoo.
Kelazet in even Warlock.
Yeah, let's stop right there. I have seen that before.
Yeah.
It is awful, but I have seen that.
But here we see also the what we were talking about, like the Grizzly is the reason he can actually deal with a white board. Clears off a lot of
Fair.
minions, yeah. But still, he gets the Drake down, and this is also it's a headache for Jarla to get through all of this.
Yeah,
He does have the Rexar now that clears up most of this board, but still not.
Yeah, it's Rexar or Egg stuff are the options this turn. If you wait with Rexar, you can then go Hunter's Mark Rexar next turn if there's no Skulking Geist from your opponent. And I feel like that is maybe the really unspoken cornerstone of what is informing Jarla's decision here. If he thinks there is a Skulking Geist, then he would rather get the
Egg in the play dead and the Hunter's Mark out of his hand.
Yeah, I guess so.
All at once. We can do that as well. Egg, play dead, Hunter's Mark, and just
that's not bad.
set up for Rexar next turn and hedge it bets against
It's true.
the Skulking Geist.
Yeah, none of it's perfect.
Yeah.
Because if he goes, like, he'd want to go Egg into Terror Scale, I think, more than Egg, Play Dead, Hunter's Mark, but then that doesn't play around Skulking Geist anyway.
No.
Yeah. I think the fact that you can set up for a... you can get some of the 1-mana cost cards out of your hand to play around Skulking Geist, and even Hunter's Mark here. Okay, yeah, this, like you pointed out, I think the fact that he is so afraid of Skulking Geist next turn, this is just by far the best play around that.
Yeah. And Casie here just, well, I can clear this with the Dreaded Furrow, so I don't even need the Skulking Geist. But it's interesting to see, though, because Casie here is taking the leading seed as basically an aggro deck. Just going wide with all his 2-drops. He had all his 2-drops, basically.
Well, this is how Zixo was playing Death Rattle Hunter, wasn't it? You just play your stuff, get everything on the board, and start killing them.
Yeah, yes, see here, Casie has representing 9 damage, and Jarla is soon dead with double Hellfire in hand.
He's very soon dead. Casie is saying, if you don't have Rexar, you're just going to lose this game. Because he could even go tap Dread Infernal on this turn. Yeah. Which does actually set up for double Hellfire Lethal. This is amazing.
Yeah, and then there's only Rexar. Well, Rexar doesn't even save him because he can't kill the 2/6/6.
He can, with the minions he has on board. So this is a play that Casie is making, saying, I don't love the spot I'm in. I'm going to try as hard as I possibly can to to force you to have Rexar. So there's a chance he just wins on the spot right now, a pretty good chance. And even if he doesn't, he can just go Lich King next turn.
Yeah. He has like everything he wants, and if a minion survives, he wins. So it doesn't matter. You just need, Jarla is forced into Rexaring early.
This is a very nice play. Casey's been having the weird habit this game of going for very control-y decks but aggressive lines, as it looks like Jarla is not playing the Deathstalker Rexar here, saying, you know what, if you've got double Hellfire, you win anyway, because he's in such a bad spot if he doesn't have it. Oh, I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with this play. This just feels like he killed off his own Ooze. This feels like such a setup for double Hellfire.
But that's it then. Casie is going 2-1. Jarla is most likely out of the tournament. As long as Casie sees it. Of course he sees this.
Yeah.
That was his setup, basically.
I really want to talk to Jarla about that afterwards, because that, to me, the fact that Casie was going so aggressively towards face, the fact that he ended up killing off his own Ooze just to get that onto the board,